say that you, at the height of COVID, probably become one of the most recognised figures of resistance against it in the world. Yeah? Your arrest, everything that followed from it. But if we can, I just want to rewind to understand who you are. What made you the person to stand up at that time when all other priests weren't standing up? Yeah, they were closing churches. Yeah. What made you that person? So if I can just ask, where was you born, Arthur?
Well, I was born in Poland, behind the Iron Curtain, under the boots of the Soviets. But also I was I was born in a very peculiar country, Poland. We have been fighting for our existence since the very beginning. I mean, the history of Poland is history of fighting for freedom. So growing up in that environment, I grew up in a city that had a concentration camp. We played in the bunkers of the SS during the 70s and 80s. My grandma was in Auschwitz-Birkenau. She was experimented upon by Dr. Mengele, the angel of death. She lost two children. My family history, my grandfather escaped Siberia. It took him 2 years to come from Siberia to Poland. And of course, growing up during that environment, you hear stories from the older generation. My other grandfather and my grandma with my great uncle, they escaped from Soviets in Romania. They were captured by the police, and my great uncle lowered my grandma on the rope, and they came to Poland. So in our DNA, in our bloodstream, if you will, it's this fight for freedom. And of course, I also grew up in the 80s, seeing the solidarity movement with my own eyes, seeing the power of the people. You see, that's the message that I have for the masses. There is more of us than of them. Realize this. The moment you say no, so 50,000 communists were ruling over 36 million Poles until the millions said enough is enough, took it to the streets. But how did they do it? They did it peacefully, and they were chanting with this huge, massive cross. I don't know if you remember that. We want God. We want God. And that was direct attack against the godless, evil, wicked communists. Because what we are observing right now is the wannabe pharaohs, the wannabe slave masters enslaving the whole humanity. They are the elites. According to them, they are telling you and me, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Why? Because they will own everything. They're telling you, you will be riding on a bicycle, eating crickets and owning nothing, while at the same time, they are flying private jets to Davos, eating the most expensive Japanese steaks and accumulating the biggest amount of land ever. Bill Gates has become the #1 landowner in the United States of America. So you got to pay attention what is happening. Simply what I'm trying to say to all of you, this is a repetition of history. We've seen this before. Nothing is new under the sun. So I grew up in a place that simply have seen this before. And what I'm saying to the people is, I've watched this movie. You know, when you watch a movie, you know how it ends? Yep. I've watched this movie, I know how it ends. We must change the script.
Poland was wiped off the map, right? There was no Poland.
For over 130 years.
For over 130 years. So for people to understand Polish history, because maybe this is the reason why you're the man standing up, through your generations, through your grandparents, you've all heard the stories of what it's like.
That's
and
right.
Understand within a generation what it's like to not have freedom. I think the biggest civil uprising in history was in Warsaw, no? 200,000 with pitchforks to fight against the Nazis of the people. And I think Polish history, they've never been, in every war ever, they've been outnumbered 30-1, minimum 30-1. So I think, so would you say that it's your upbringing and your understanding of what it's like to not have freedom and your family's fight throughout history for freedom, that you can see the reminiscence of what's happening now in Canada and in the West?
That's right. Also, every year that I go to Europe, I make sure, sometimes I take my friends from Canada, sometimes I'll take Americans, my family, of course, my children. I will take the time to go to Auschwitz-Birkenau. I'll tell you why. Because every single time I go over there, it's a good reminder to what happens when you don't put a check on people's power. Right now, we have a situation where there is no accountability to those lying politicians. There are no checks and balances. They do whatever they want, and there is really nothing we can do about this. The judges are corrupted. The police are just simply following orders. I'm a Polish man. I've heard this before. Nuremberg trials, when all those SS people came, those evil, wicked monsters, I call them, they showed up in front of the whole world and they said, I'm not guilty. I was just following orders. No. It doesn't work that way, and definitely doesn't work that way before God. Every man is accountable for what he has done. You will stand naked before the living God, and you will give an account for what you did. Not what your wife did, not what your neighbors did, not what your politician did, but what you did. And if you were a good man, you will get a reward. If you were a wicked man, you will also get a wrath of God. You will pay for it. So growing up in this environment, learning history, I think the problem we're facing right now, the most of the children, and then of course they grow up, this generation doesn't know history.
They don't know who they are.
They don't know. If you do not know where you came from, you don't know where you're heading. You see, I'm a proud Polish man. I'm not hiding I'm Polish. I mean, my accent even, it's not hiding it. I'm a Pole. I was born in Poland. Yes, it was crazy at times. The history of Polish people is a roller coaster. But that's my history. That's the history of my parents, my grandparents. I'm proud to be a Polish man, but I'm also proud to be a Canadian. My children were born here. My home is here. I am a Canadian. I came to love this land, and I'm a very patriotic man. I think we've lost that. Our children do not know in a big scale what patriotism even means. That God has given us this land for a purpose. It's a gift from God Almighty to you and to me, and He wants us to take care of the land, but also take care of each other. We've lost that, and it's by design. What they are doing right now, and again, I have to go back to history. I grew up in hell. Communism, socialism, fascism is hell. I grew up in hell. And when you grow up in that kind of an environment...
What was it like growing up? Tell me that. So people understand, what was it like growing up?
Never-ending lineups.
What's that mean?
What that means is every Saturday my mom would send me to buy a loaf of bread once a week, and to buy a loaf of bread I had to stand in a lineup. I could not see the end of it. What it means is that I was 7, 8 years old, and they would send me 300-400 kilometers from home with luggage that I could not even lift, with meat, because we couldn't buy it here. You had to go somewhere else. What it means is that the government controlled everything, what you eat and how much you eat. They were giving you the food stamps. And on the food stamp, I'll never ever forget this, on those little stamps would say 2 kilos of pork or 2 kilos of, sausage. The government was telling you how much vodka you can drink. The government was telling you how much gasoline you can put into your car. The government was telling you where you can have a house. If you can afford it, but they were telling you if you can have it or not. The government was telling you if you can buy a car or not. Every single aspect of your life was controlled by wicked, evil, corrupted to the core bureaucrats. More, what happened also, those bureaucrats, because of the bribery, lying and cheating and stealing, turned the entire nation into a nation that was run by bribery, cheating and stealing. Not because the Polish people were bad people.
It's the only way you can survive.
You gotta survive. I mean, in the end of the day, I'm a pastor, I'm a clergy. The Bible is very clear, thou shalt not steal. But I'm telling you, Tommy, if I had a situation that I could not eat and my children were starving, I'll probably go and do something to get it, right? This way or that way. So that's what communism, that's what every ism turns people into. And everyone was afraid of everyone.
But everyone was afraid of everyone because they'd made everyone report on everyone?
Of course.
So you couldn't trust your neighbours, there was no trust in the community because they had the secret police?
Because that's by design. Why a man like me arose in such a quick way? Because I was the first Canadian, I don't know if you know that, I became the first Canadian to get the big lying ticket 4 years ago. I got this ticket at the beginning of 2020.
By ticket you mean fine, this massive fine, tens of thousands of pounds?
Oh, millions of dollars.
Okay.
I got